Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and this video is going to show the fastest front wheel drive cars in terms of lap time. As always, the position counter is in the top left with the best lap time the vehicle achieved in the top right, and as the title says, this is cars only. There's no bikes, planes or anything else here. This video only focuses on track performance, so if you're interested in top speed, where braking, cornering and acceleration aren't relevant, check the link in the description for the top speed testing series, and if you want to know more information about this testing, including the extent to which it's accurate and how useful it is for you personally, have a read of the full description as everything that you need is in there. This video lists all vehicles and is correct as of the Cayo Perico heist update. For any vehicles added after that or other classes of cars, check the playlist linked in the second line of the description, and feel free to check out my Patreon or become a YouTube member if you want to support this work and get testing results of any new cars a little bit early. So I'm going to get it out of the way straight away. As you can see, the blisters are all here in this list. We had the regular blister in 10th place, here's the blister compact in 8th with the Go-Go Monkey blister in 7th, both in 73rd and 72nd positions in the ridiculously oversized sport class respectively. And again, it shows how silly it is that the blister compact is in that sport class when you've got the regular blister and now the blister Canjo, which we haven't seen yet in this video, are both in the compact class, but the blister compact is in sports. The Canjo actually being quicker than the blister compact as well doesn't really help it either, because the blister compact could quite easily be in the compact class and it still wouldn't be anywhere near the top of the top of the lap times for that class. So yeah, just kind of ridiculous. But when it comes to front wheel drive cars, you really don't have that much variety, because while the fastest all-wheel drive cars would be the top supers and sports cars, the fastest rear-wheel drive cars would just be the open-wheel cars and some of the top supercars. Front-wheel drive cars include a decent number of cars that we wouldn't see in other top 10 lists, which is why I've decided to make a separate video just for them. But there's not an awful lot of them. This video actually contains half of all of the front wheel drive cars in the entire game. There are 319 rear wheel drive cars, 158 all wheel drive cars, but only 20 front wheel drive cars. So yeah, not an awful lot of them, but they're at least somewhat interesting. It's a bit of a shame that there isn't more representation for front wheel drivetrains, and certainly nothing super quick or anything. You're not going to be getting top supercar levels of lap times in this list. But here we are with the Pagani in 3rd place, which always used to be the number one for lap time for front wheel drive vehicles for a long time. It is still the number one for top speed, so the Pagani does have the highest top speed of any of the vehicles that we see in this list. For top speed, it's actually the same top 3, but in a reversed order. And as you can see, the Pagani is 14th in the Sports Classics class. It's the only Sports Classic car that we're seeing in this list. If you want to see all the sports classics or all of the compacts, all of the sedans, whatever it is, I have tested every vehicle in the game. They're all in the playlist, which is linked down below in the description. But yeah, 1 minute 9.7 for the Pagani. It's only good enough for 14th in sports classics, but that's good enough for 3rd place for front wheel drive cars. And speaking of, vehicles that aren't very good in their own classes, we've got the Sugoi here with a 108.8, so just a little bit quicker than the Pagani. It was the first thing to knock it off that top spot for lap time. And even though it's the second quickest front wheel drive car in the entire game, it is in 64th place for the sports class. It could quite easily be in compact, this car, just like the blister compact itself. The lap time is not very good, and you shouldn't really be expecting good lap times for front wheel drive cars at this point. We've had enough of them now to know that they're really not given that much performance. But ultimately, the number one is something that is top of its class. It's the Club. First place for front wheel drive cars and first place for the compact class as well. With a 1 minute 6.9, even if the Sugoi was in the compact class, it wouldn't be able to hold a candle to the Club. It's over a second, nearly 2 seconds per lap quicker than the next best. The Club is really, really quick. It's really fun to drive. It's certainly the best front wheel drive car in the game in terms of lap time, obviously, but also in terms of just how fun it is and how good it is to drive and how it feels like a proper front wheel drive car, and a decent amount of speed as well. Not as great with top speed. Like I said, the top speed for the front wheel drive cars would be the top 3. They would be the same but in a reversed order, so the Pagani would be first, then the Sugoi just behind, and then the Club. But yeah, ultimately the Club is the #1 fastest front wheel drive car, and certainly because of the Club's existence being in the compact class, it raises questions as to why things like the Blister Compact and the Sugoi really aren't in compacts either. You know, it's not as if they would be suddenly overpowered, and the fact that we've got 73 sports cars, which is ridiculous. These cars should be put somewhere else instead. So it's a shame that on the one hand, we don't have some of these front-wheel drive cars that can all race together in the same class. We even had some sedans, you know, like the Acia and the Premier. The Acia certainly could go in compact as well. But it's a shame that, you know, we can't race a lot of these together because they're in such weird classes. But then it's also a shame that we don't have more front-wheel drive cars. You know, some quicker sports or supercars or something like that. Something that's totally off the cuff, that's really quick and can compete at the top, but it just happens to be front wheel drive as well. We used to have that a little bit with the Pagani, when the Pagani used to be able to compete with the Z-Type in the Sport Classics class, but that class has moved on now and we've got a lot of faster cars. We do have a front wheel drive car that's at the very top of its class with the Club, but that's it. That's all we've got really. So yeah, only 20 front wheel drive cars when there's hundreds of all wheel drive and rear wheel. But you've seen half of those front wheel drive cars, and those are the top 10 and the quickest front wheel drive cars that we've got in the game. So that's pretty much it for this one. Consider supporting on Patreon or become a YouTube member if you want testing results early. And remember to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed or found it helpful, and subscribe for more. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.